What is up, guys? It's Mil here, and today we have a team from Mc2Corey, and I'm going to rate it today, just like on Smogon in the RMT section. Alright, so let's begin. At the first look on the team, I see a Charizard and I see Manaphy. That's great because Manaphy and Charizard work really well together. You know, Charizard X checks are Slowbro, Quagsire, Hippowdon, bulky ground types, and things that have Unaware, for example, like Quagsire, and Manaphy beats all these. Skull Energy Ball is insane coverage, considering Charizard X checks. It really blows everything away that stands in the way of Charizard. So really great choice to choose Manaphy and Charizard X. I'm not so happy with the Rain Dance, but we'll get to it later. And then we have a Hooper, which is Choice Scarf. I assume that he uses this as a cleaner with Hyperspace Fury, Psychic Drain Punch, Gunk Shot. I wouldn't go for that set because max attack means you should use physical moves. Then you have Latios with Draco, Psyshock, HP Fire, Defog. You can argue about HP Fire too because Charizard sets up on Scizor and Ferrothorn, but to have these weakened is also very nice because setting up is much easier on weakened Pokemon. And also, if you weaken the Steel types, then Charizard doesn't have to take like 40% from Flabbits plus Iron Barbs or something, or Bullet Punch. And then we have Thundurus, and as you see, these 4 Pokemon just destroy all Charizard X counters, and that's a bit much because if you concentrate too much on one issue, too much on destroying Charizard X checks, then you forget other things. For example, I don't see any Latios switch in on this team because Lati twins are very common in OU. You know, they just switch them in. You know, on Lando Rocks, for example, you go for Rocks, they switch in Lati. It's risky, but if they do it, then they're in a good position because what do we have for Dracos on this team? Nothing switches in. Hooper takes 80% from Latios, if I remember correctly. Manaphy also takes 80%. Charizard can't take Dracos at all. Charizard without Mega Evolution gets OHKO'd by Life Orb Draco from Latios. So that's a thing to consider. You really cannot switch into Dracos with that team. Lando can take one, but that's really not a reliable Pokemon for that. So really there has to be a Latios switch in because you may get a kill with Charizard, then they switch in their Lati. What next? You have to sack something. That's not a good strategy. And also if you want to wall break with Manaphy, okay, one Manaphy check is one of the Lati twins. They switch in their Latios, for example. And then what do you do next? You go for Scald to do 15%, and they go for Draco or Psyshock, and you lose a Pokemon. So we really have to work on the Latios weakness on that team. That's the first thing I saw. So, and really, Hooper without Volt Turn support. And with that I mean, for example, if you have Raikou, if you look at Joey's team, which he used to ladder OLT, he had a Raikou with Volt Switch, and he had a Tornadus with U-Turn, and also Landorus with U-Turn, and he had a Bandit Hooper. So he used that to bring Hooper in all the time to spam these ridiculously strong attacks. But we just have U-Turn on Lando, and I really don't think that is enough to bring in Hooper. And Hooper with Scarf isn't really that strong. It gets a few kills, but I don't see it providing too much to the team. Now if we add Jirachi here, then the team looks completely different, because now, well, you go into Manaphy, you try to wall break, they switch in their Lati, you switch in Jirachi, go for U-turn, and then you have momentum, because if they stay in, you get damage with U-turn. You're still in a bad spot if they stay in on your U-turn, because you have no switch in, but they shouldn't stay in because Latios can really touch Jirachi. So you could go for a Choice Scarf set to keep the speed. You know, the team looks a little bit slow, considering that there are things like Weavile and other Scarfers, and Jirachi is really base 100. It's really good. So we are making this max speed, max attack. Let's just put it in defense. U-turn, Iron Head, and you can play around with these moves. Really, let's make it jolly, because we want to outspeed as many Pokemon as possible, because it is our late game cleaner. U-turn, Iron Head. Let's see, Ice Punch maybe to weaken Landorus, because if you predict and they switch in. And the last move is, I don't know, I made the team here already. The last move is Healing Wish, just for the surprise factor, because Manaphy is very fast, and if they trap you, for example, with Bisharp, and they think they can, if they trap you, they go for Bisharp as you switch in Jirachi. For example, you go for Healing Wish, and Healing Wish back Manaphy or Charizard, or even Thundurus to win the game. So this is the Jirachi set I like on this team, because it, as I said, it switches into Latis. Then I like to change the Manaphy set a little bit, because as you see, Tail Glow is necessary, Scald is Stab necessary, Energy Ball is necessary to weaken Charizard X checks. Now the Rain Dance is good to remove status, but I think Ice Beam is better, because now let's view it as a cycle. We have our Charizard X in, we just got a kill on something, or we just Mega Evolved, we got a kill with Dragon Claw on a paralyzed Keldeo, let's say. We got a kill with Charizard on a paralyzed Keldeo with Dragon Claw. The next thing the opponent switches in is a Latios. Now the Latios wants to go for Draco, because it wants to kill the Charizard X. Okay, we go into Jirachi, take the hit, we take like 38 or 40 from Draco, and they really have to switch out, because their special attack is dropped and they are doing nothing to you unless they have Earthquake, but then again, I think it does only around 50 or 60. You have to run the calc. So we switch in the Jirachi on the Draco, the Lati has to switch out. Then we go for U-turn on the ground type, for example Landorus or Hippowdon or Quaxagar, I don't know. But Jirachi oftentimes baits in, or it really pulls these Charizard X checks in on the field. So we go for U-turn and the opponent goes into Hippowdon. Okay, we go into Manaphy. So we have now Manaphy and the opponent has Hippowdon. Now if we go for Scald, the opponent won't let us weaken their Hippowdon so easily, because they know Charizard X is a huge threat. So what will they do? They will switch in back in. They will switch their Latios back in. And that's where we can surprise them with Ice Beam. Go for Ice Beam on the Latios. That does like 50%. And then back onto Jirachi. Same procedure again. They go for Draco. You go for U-turn. Manaphy, Ice Beam the Latios again, and it's gone. So you just removed their Manaphy check. That means that you have higher chances to break their team with Manaphy. So this is how these two work well together. Or even with Landorus. Landorus also has U-turn a very good lander switch in his Hippowdon, because it sets up rocks on it if the Lando has Source Sense and Earthblade. That's a problem for Hippowdon though, so they have to watch out. But yeah, U-turn also helps Manaphy bringing in, or you can also bring in Jirachi on. If you click U-turn, you can bring in Jirachi and click U-turn again, just to scout what your opponent does. But if you go for U-turn too much, then the opponent might stay in and predict. So you have to watch out for that. For example, you go for U-turn, they stay in with the Latios, go for Draco, then you have to sack something because Jirachi is your only Lati counter on the team. So the next thing is Latios, also very great Pokemon on the team. Draco destroys Charizard X checks like a Hippowdon, Quagsire and such, so they have no chance. Defog is very nice for Charizard. It is necessary because rocks will be up. The opponent OU is such a tier that rocks are very often guaranteed, because the rock setter can be O-code easily and they often carry a sash on offensive teams. So defog is necessary. They want to get up the rocks for Charizard and Thundurus. And then we have a Thundurus just to kill Slowbro and also weaken Ferrothorn, for example, Focus Blast. You know, this Thundurus has a very good coverage. Nothing really likes to switch in on that. Latios gets 2-hit KO'd, Latias gets 2-hit KO'd after rocks. So really great. Also for Manaphy. And then we have Thunder Wave, and this is to slow faster threats down. For example, a Charizard, not a Charizard. An Alakazam, Mega Alakazam for example. You know, it just, after a little bit of rocks damage and prior damage, it just clicks Shadow Ball. You know, it doesn't outspeed Jirachi, but it kills a huge portion of the team after a little bit of damage. So Thunder Wave is to slow them down and then have a better chance with Charizard and Manaphy killing them. Then we have Landorus, because if you look at the team and look at standard sand teams with Excadrill Life Orb, it just clicks Rock Slide, Iron Head, Earthquake, 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 and the game is over. So Landorus is a good choice here with leftovers. You can also run Rocky Helmet if you want, but leftovers is always nice. So you have U-turn, Knockoff, Stealth Rock. I don't agree with Knockoff because Talonflame is an issue. Stone Edge. Talonflame is an issue because you really have nothing for Talonflame. Nothing switches in. You have to switch in your Landorus and then go for Stone Edge. Alright, I hope I covered everything. Let's look at the finished team here. HP Fire, Psyshock, Defog, Draco. You can think maybe Roost here, because then you can switch multiple times into Keldeo. But Thundurus deals offensively with Keldeo. You could put Zen Headbutt here, maybe. You know, these are the things you have to play around with. You have to play like 30 matches, 50 matches. Not 50, but 30 matches are nice. And then you have to find what fits best, because slots like these, they can be changed. I put Earthquake on Charizard because I like to. I mean, this is pretty much a hyper offensive team. Very fast paced. Just destroy Charizard X checks and try to get up a Dragon Dance and then kill everything. So that's my take on the team. That's my rate. I hope I covered everything. I think so. Max speed on Charizard, because some people use Mega Garchomp and it has a very weird speed stat. I think it's 311 or something, and it just outspeeds the Charizard. So I just put max speed there because it is a late game cleaner, and it also switches in on Charizard Y, but it is a late game cleaner. So we just set up a Dragon Dance on things like Manectric Raikou What else? On Rotom, for example, because we can take a Hydro Pump and then kill if it is weakened. So on things that go for attacks that don't do much, we can set up on and then sweep the opposing team. So yeah, that's the team. I think these 2 slots can be changed, and we can still discuss if we should put Roost over HP Fire, but I think this is it. So see you in the next video.